Hey everybody, welcome back to the final episode of FSI DFS Fantasy NASCAR picks for this season. I'm your host, February31. Thank you so much for tuning in all season and first solo year here with videos. And I think it went pretty well. So I appreciate all the viewership, all the interaction, everything that you all brought, your comments, people joining the Discord, just like meeting new friends. It's been great. So I really appreciate it. Really touching all the people that will, thousands of people that will come out on a weekend and watch this video quick, and hopefully I've been able to help you as much as you've helped us by your viewership. So appreciate that. So we've got the finale. Truck race was an absolute disaster. Xfinity, I was in first place until the last lap when John Hunter Nemechek fell back and I lost thousands. Well, I didn't lose thousands. I was up thousands. I won hundreds, which I'll take it. Profit's profit. Can't complain. Made money. But one last chance here. Looking forward to it in the Cup race. So Phoenix Raceway, it's a shorter track. Go 4 or 5 wide, really fan out, especially around turn 1 there. And, some tight wear, pretty easy to pass. Might see some long green stretches. We'll have to see how it goes. 312 laps, I think. So definitely some dominator points up for bid. If you don't know how the championship works, the 4 green drivers are in it. You don't have to win it to get the championship. You just have to finish ahead of the other 3. So in Xfinity, we saw the winner win the race, Cole Custer, but in Ben Rhodes, I think you finished like 4th or 5th. You don't have to win the race. You just have to finish above everybody else. And everybody else pretty much was wrecked out of it. So it's just crazy for the truck race there. So pricing is tight. So definitely going to have to make some choices here. And most of the cash plays I don't really like them that far in the field because, again, I mean, it's pretty easy to pass. There could be some place differential, but it's easy to, on a shorter track too, with long green run for some of these like punts to get lapped. Not like on a super short track, but on if you're like in Martinsville or something like that. But again, if it's a long green run, you might have them catch the back of the field. Not quickly, but soon enough. So it has an opportunity to put cars a couple laps down. So let's get into it. William Byron has the pole. He won here in the spring race. So definitely going to be probably the highest owned driver, chalky. And I think at cash, you got to have him, maybe even some GPPs, just because if he goes out there and is able to dominate early, like we saw in the truck race, and John Hunter Nemechek got out there and was able to go out and lead in the Cup race, even though Sammy Smith had the pole, but he got out there a little bit before he had an incident on pit road. His car caught on fire. So if that didn't happen, he probably would have been able, hopefully, to stay out there and maybe dominate a little bit more of the race. But anyways, Byron should be able to go out there, should be able to lead a bunch of laps, and should be able to get a lot of points, and is probably the favorite to win the championship here. Truex starting second. I'm going to fade him. I just don't think, unless he can somehow get ahead of Byron and get out there and dominate early, then it's a lot to pay off a 10K price tag without fast laps and dominator points. And I just don't see him doing it. In spring, he was 17th here. I just see him going backwards. Kevin Harvick, I hope he wins this race. I so hope. He has been phenomenal at Phoenix. He's been really good here. It is hard to get him in with 2 championship drivers, so I can't do it in cash, but he is the first person in my GPP lineup. I am a strong believer, not like a nut, but I do believe that there are some conspiracies in sports. I do believe that when it comes to the end of a career, or, if there's a great narrative, that not necessarily things are fixed, but sometimes we put people in a better position. So if he's out there, and really close, and will they throw like a phantom caution for debris or something to give him another restart, to give him another try? Possibly. I think that they will maybe perhaps make this and his car looked good in practice and qualifying. He looked really good out there in the spring race. So I just think that he does have a legitimate shot to win this race, and we'll have to see if NASCAR maybe helps the process along a little bit. So not gonna say the race is fixed for him to win. This is not professional wrestling, but you will see there. So I'm definitely going to have a lot of interest in Harvick, especially on FanDuel. I think you play him in cash there. Kyle Larson, when he won the championship, he just dominated here. Also, I think that Byron will dominate early, and I think he'll get out there and be able. And I think it'll just be the same situation as Custer and John Hunter Nemechek. Hopefully, they don't end up wrecking each other towards the end, and they can race like gentlemen and have a clean race. I don't care which one wins it, but I think both of them will dominate, and they kind of have to with their price tag for me to prime both of them. If I get it, if you don't want to play, if you're only going to play one of these guys as prime, then go with Byron. Skip Larson and pick up another driver in the championship, but we'll get to those in a little bit. Bubba Wallace, I like him FanDuel. I think he's not a good play here. I think he'll be going backwards, 14th in the spring. Denny Hamlin, even though 23rd in the spring, he's good on these types of tracks. So I think he's a dark horse to win this race here. So if you're betting, I'd take him. It's a great play on FanDuel. And I think he'll be the second player in with Harvick in my GPP lineup. Eric Jones is going no place with backwards. Great hot lap here for practice for qualifying. But just looking at all the other numbers, he's going to fall down. Chastain could probably hold his own in the top 5, maybe get into the top 10, maybe get into a top 5. The GPP for me, I don't, just has really struggled this season. I think Trackhouse really needs to go back and refocus and come back a lot stronger. 23XI made a lot more progress in their second year than Trackhouse did. So I think they need a lot of things to figure out in the off season. I mean, it wasn't an abysmal performance like Legacy, but I think they definitely have some things that they need to get nailed down to be a little bit more competitive here. Busher, I have him as a cash play. I know it's kind of dangerous having him starting this far forward, but he has been really good in long run speed at these types of tracks. And if we've got a long green run, we've seen him be able to get up there and do well. He won some races this year. The Roush Fenway cars have looked good the last couple of weeks. So I really think that he's someone that, again, 8,100 is kind of no man's land in a cash build if you're trying to play two expensive primes, but there are ways to get him in. If not, it's great in a GPP lineup. Reddick's another one though. Looking at a GPP, I think he has upside to potentially. Guy loves to ride a high groove. If he can make it work there and get around some cars that are running lower, if he can make it work and stick it and not hit the wall, he's good. So GPP for me. Interested. I don't know if he'll be in my primary GPP lineup, but I will have some exposure for him. Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs will be the third guy in my GPP lineup. So I'll probably start with Harvick, Hamlin, and Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs has been terrible on tracks like this. He's had a okay rookie year. Hasn't really struggled, hasn't really looked like he moved up too fast. He is a rookie. He had his bumps. He's learning. He's filing that information away, and he'll probably win his first race the next year, and he'll probably be competing for a title by year 3. That's probably how he's going to grow. He's got a good pedigree and everything. His father passed away on this track last year, when they're at this track last year. He won the Xfinity race. It was the overnight. He was supposed to run the Cup race the next day. I think it's going to be an emotional time, and I think that might drive him to be successful. I'm going to bet Ty Gibbs for a win here, and I just don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibilities for him to put together a really solid race, and even though the championship's going on, to be able to go out there and just be super focused and get everything, even with all the emotion, and just channel it into making all the right moves to get his first victory. So and I think it'd be a great story. So I will play him in GPPs. I will bet him to win the race, and we'll see what happens. Ryan Preece, again, it's probably starting too far forward here, but 12th, and he ran pretty well here in the spring, and he's run pretty well overall. Great FanDuel play here. great, kind of risky GPP play, but at 6,300, I kind of like him better than some of the other guys that might run into trouble in the back and, not be able to make it up this far. So it's always risky playing a driver, but these Stewart Haas cars have done pretty well. Harvick has done really well on this track. Cole Custer won the Xfinity race. I know it's a completely different car, but it's the same team. I think Priest could definitely be successful. Here, not like he's going to win, but if you can stay in the top 15, even in the top 20, I think that's enough in a GPP. It's really scary for cash. Christopher Bell is in the title hunt here. I think he's the least likely to win it. He didn't look great in with speed in practice and qualifying. So was 6 here in the spring, but I just seen too many errors with him. I think they figured out over the offseason. I think he comes back next year and is super competitive again and makes the playoffs and makes a deep run. But this year, I don't think he has enough to make it. I didn't think Ben Rhodes did either. So if Byron and Larson and Blaney all take each other out, by default, he might win this. Anything is possible. We saw that in the truck race, but I think that's, how I'm playing that one. Todd Gillian is starting way far forward here. Same thing as Ryan Preece, but he's been good on these types of tracks. I know he was the 31st in the spring, but that was kind of an anomaly. I think he can stay in the top 20, and I think he's another cheap one. If you want to try to go with 3 of the championship drivers, you're going to have to play someone like him potentially, and I think he's in better equipment and a better driver at these tracks than say like Ryan Newman or Corey LaJoy or Ty Dillon or JJ Yaley is. So definitely someone maybe if you have to put him in cash, but GPP, I think he's definitely in play. Ryan Blaney, I think he's going to be chalky because I think people are going to look at it and be like, oh, look at the place differential here. But at 11.3, I don't know if place differential is going to be enough. He might need to get up there and dominate and actually like lead some laps to be able to pay off his price tag and be into the optimal lineup. And he very well could. Like he's been decent on these types of tracks. So it's possible to finish second here in the spring, but I just think with Larson and Byron up there, it's going to be hard for him to get up there and be able to do that. So that's why he's a GPP for me, and I'm not playing in cash. But again, if you want to, and I think you should, if you want to split cash or just play in like 20 maxes, then you're going to toy around with like combinations of 2 to 3 of these championship drivers, because that is what really makes a lot of sense. Daniel Suarez, probably going backwards, not interested there. GPP to a fade. Joey Logano, I have him as a GPP. He's definitely a cash play on FanDuel. Love him on FanDuel with the pricing. 9,800 is too expensive to get in with 2 championship drivers. The rest of your lineup is in like 5K. It is bad. I tried it. I mean, if you can figure out something that works, then good, go for it. It's very interesting. But Joey Logano is one who's got a crew chief that can make things happen here to get him up there. He's aggressive, and if he can keep the car clean, he can definitely get up there. He could dominate this race and lead laps potentially too. Playing with house money, not going for the championship, and I think he's one that advances, moves up, top 15, top 10, has place differential upside. The price isn't high enough that you need him to go and lead laps and have fast laps. If he does, it's gravy, but he's just hard to play. So, he's definitely another one. Maybe he's the 4th one I have in my GPP. So it'll be Logano, Gibbs, Harvick, Hamlin, and then a couple scrubs, because that's probably a lot of payroll or salary that I'm putting in the line already. Kyle Busch, I liked him after practice, but I just looking at some of the rest, 8th year in the spring, but then just looking at some of the other, how he qualified and just some of the other matrix on these tracks, I just think he's had a decent first year with Richard Childress. I think they're making progress. I think he's not complete dust yet. I think there's still some upside there. But I don't think that this is the race that anything's going to manifest. Mike McDowell, you need a cheaper driver. I couldn't go Gillen. I think McDowell's solid. He's been good on these types of tracks. He's been solid all season. He's in good equipment. I think he'll be highly owned here. He finished 13th in the spring. If he can stay in the top 20 at 5,800, he's fine. If you move up a little bit, it just helps you even more. Even if he falls down to like 25th, he's not hurting you that much. So really like Michael McDowell here. That's why I'm going to give him as a prime play, because he's not as bad as some of the other guys here that are risky. He's just somewhere in the middle. I think if he just goes out there, blue collar day, does his job, keeps it clean. And when we saw this with like Caden Honeycutt and a couple of guys in the Xfinity series too, where they just were starting in the middle of the pack and ran a clean race, and you didn't hear their name at all. But if you look at the standings at the end, they did their job, they did what they're supposed to, and they probably helped people make some money. So I'm hoping that he does the same. Chase Elliott, GPP, he was not 10th here in the spring. Josh Berry ran this car here. I think just Elliott is probably going to go the first season of his Cup career without having a win. I think they've already come to terms with that. I think the priority for Hendrick is to help to try one of the other two to win the racing, the title. So I think he'll just be there. I mean, obviously he's got some place differential upside here. 8,600 is decent price tag, probably the cheapest you're going to see him. Next year he's probably going to come out like win Daytona or something, or Atlanta, one of the early races. And then, he'll be back to like 10K every single week. So enjoy the 8,600 while you can. Buy low in GPP, but I'm not playing in cash. Austin Dillon, horrible season. If he didn't have family ties to RCR, I don't think he would be in the. I saw Dale Jr. had something like a podcast about like why Austin Dillon might lose the ride of the three. I didn't get a chance to watch yet, so I figure that's kind of interesting too. I think it's all the sentiment. Like, we like Austin Dillon. I don't think he's a bad guy. His reality TV show is kind of funny, but just for a race car driver for like this iconic car and team, just don't think he's cutting it the way we would like him to. So, but in this race, in the context of it, 16th in the spring, I think he's okay enough here at the price point where he's starting to be a safe cash fill-in if you need somebody in the 6K range. Carson Hocevar, he was doing good in the truck race and raced too hard and took out Haim, and then Haim came back and took him out, which he understood. But he's raced, just take that out of the thing. He's raced pretty well in this new car, and I think he's a very talented driver, and he's going to go places. In the future here. And I think that he definitely can keep this car in the top 25. And so is GPP here. I think he'll have low ownership, so I think it's like a sneaky play. So if you want to get off the McDowell chalk and you have $100 more in your lineup, then I think he could be definitely a play with some floor here. Alex Bowman, I have him as a cash play. I think he'll be highly owned, 9th here. Should be able to move up somewhat. I don't think he gets up there and dominates or anything, but he's another blue collar guy that kind of like hopefully behind the scenes, it doesn't make any noise. And then you look at the end of the day and you're like, oh, wow, Alex Bowman went from 23rd to 8th. Awesome. I played him. Good. And he's not a bad one to try to get into your lineup too. So I'd probably start, like I said, with the Larson and Byron. If you want to pivot off Larson, I said I completely get it there. McDowell, I like is the value there, but then these 7K guys are where you're going to fill it out. So Bowman's a great one. Ricky Stenhouse, you're saving $1,000. Also, he's had a solid season, started by winning Daytona, just been around. Hasn't been as volatile and as many wrecks. He's just kind of being the blue collar guy too, just blending in, get the job done. Hopefully continues to mature and progress for this team, and continues to be successful. He's heading in the right direction, and hopefully this is another chance for him to do that. This might shock you. Harrison Burton, if you watch like all like, Drew Dollar, I think is probably one of the worst truck drivers, and there's a couple others that were bad for the Glory of God team, and that we just didn't play. In Xfinity, if you watch my videos, and if you looked on the post that I put up today, Joe Graff Jr., like I listed him as like never instead of Cash GPP Prime or Fade. He's just had a miserable season. I think Harrison Burton is usually in the same boat. And I can't believe that there's like drivers in Xfinity like Austin Hill and Cole Custer that aren't coming and taking his ride next year. But anyways, don't understand the politics or business aspect of it. He'll be back next year in this Wood Brothers car. For this race, he was 35th in the spring, but he does well on these types of tracks. So at 5,500, if you need another punt, and if you think Gillian is starting too far forward, and if you want to get off the chalk of McDowell, then he is an acceptable play. GPP definitely. I can make a case for him in cash if you need it to get what you want at the top of your lineup. I think he can do his job. If he is the one that doesn't and all the rest of the five work out, then I think you should be perfectly fine. Chase Briscoe, really like him here if you can get it to him in the 7K range. Was seventh. Stuart Haas cars, like I said, have been pretty strong here. Harvick, Priest. So I think that a Stuart Haas stack might be good in a GPP. But Briscoe 7,500 definitely has some place differential upside here. I think he'll have some high ownership. If you can get to him, I really, really think he's a solid play. Cindric, another guy that's just really struggled this season. Another one that might have come up. Well, I mean, he just went through a sophomore slump. I think he'll be fine. He just needs an off season to just kind of get refocused and look at some of the things that worked in his rookie year that didn't work as well this year. And I think they'll be figured out. Penske is a strong team, and I think the three of them can definitely work together next year and have a solid season. So for this race, 25th last time. He's not a 27th place driver. So I think if you can get to him in 6,500 range in Cath and GPPs, prefer him in GPPs, but I think he has enough floor for cash. If you can't get to these 7K guys, I think he works. Eric Almirola, probably his last cup. He might fill in cup races here and there, but he might be in like a Rick Ware car or some like lesser equipment. So this is probably the last chance for him to be in a competitive car. He's not going to win the race, but and even though he finished 33rd in the spring here, this is a decent type track for him. He's another one of the 7K guys between Bowman, Briscoe, and Almirola. I love all three of them in this range here. I think all of them are solid plays. I think they'll have a lot of ownership, and I think they'll be decent. Corey LaJoy, don't like him in this style of track. Like he's overachieved so many times this year, but this isn't one of the tracks for him. So GPP to fade for me. Ryan Newman, he'll block a lot of people from passing him, but he won't advance at all, and the equipment is horrible, so he's a fade. Brad Keselowski, this should be a prime play and a lock play, but I believe he just had a baby, so he's not there. Cole Custer qualified the car, hasn't really driven this generation of car, so that's why it didn't qualify that well. The car should be fast. It should be good. If Brad is here, he's good at this track, and if it's all good, if he didn't like get to the racetrack like 5 minutes before he might have the adrenaline from the baby, but like during this long race of 312 laps or how many ever it is, I mean that could really, and during, I believe it starts in the afternoon, that starts to get dark and the track changes and stuff. There's just could be so many factors that this might not work out for 9K. Plus it's almost impossible to play him. Same thing with Harvick up there with like the 11K guys. So have it as a cash play. It's probably more logistically a GPP play, but just make sure he's the one driving the car and Cole Custer isn't, because that can make a huge difference because you probably get a big fat zero for that. AJ Allmendinger might be again to be his last cup. We don't know if he's coming back to a cup car or not next year. He seems to like Xfinity better, and then just instead of being full-time cup, to come up and run like road courses and like a la carte pick and choose what he likes to do in Xfinity, which is no problem with that. I think pick and choose what he does in Cup, and then just keep run the Xfinity schedule, which is less demanding. So could go back down there. Could be still here in colleague. We'll just have to pay attention and see what happens there. But I think you can definitely play him in cash here. I think there's definitely some place differential upside. 6,200 is a nice price tag, so I think it would be highly owned and in cash there for tight ends a fade. I mean, if you need a punt down here, I'm okay with it. JJ usually should probably be a fade also. He had a pretty bad crash, and not like a take to the hospital crash, but I think it was a pretty hard hit after mechanical failure or something in the Xfinity one. So not really his fault though, but then again, this Rick Ware car, I just don't trust it. So Justin Haley, I think there's not a lot of upside here. Obviously both collie cars, they missed the setup or something because they both look bad in qualifying. So, obviously they swung for the fences and struck out, got the golden sombrero, the 4 strikeouts with only 2 teams. But anyways, I think he's definitely has some upside here. 6K is a good price point. I think of stuff medium to high ownership, just because he does have the place differential, and you need some value to get into your lineup to get some of those higher price guys. So something to look at. And BJ McLeod is just an absolute. I respect BJ McLeod and like what he's doing and coming up and racing. He's a good guy. He doesn't he's a clean racer and everything. He doesn't cause people to wreck or anything like that. He's just doesn't drive super fast, and the equipment's not great. So but you know what, he fills out a field. So but not playing him. So that's what I got for you. I just again really appreciate everything that you've done to support us this year, and if you want to continue, just subscribe to our channel so you know when our videos are coming out next year. Check out my NFL videos that I've been doing. McKinley's been doing hockey ones. We'll have some PGA ones coming up. There's 3 more events this year, and then we'll start out in January of the new year. I might dabble with some NBA ones coming up. So we've got a lot of cool things going on. So appreciate all your support here with FSI. Hope you guys have a great holiday season and a healthy and happy new year. And I look forward to, I'm planning on coming back next year. So I look forward to doing this and doing some breakdowns in February for all the series. And then we'll get started with Daytona. And then we'll go from there through the 2024 season. So please, if there's anything about these videos or anything about the program this year, if you want to give us some feedback and some things that I and the team can look at for next year to try to definitely keep that you liked or make them a little bit better for you, then by all means, please help us out, give us the feedback. We'll see what we can do with it to make it happen and help you out. So thanks for watching. Again, good luck in your contest. If you have any questions, put them in the chat below. You can hit me up at MegaRuler31 on Twitter, formerly known as, or it's X nowadays, formerly known as Twitter. So once again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for a great season. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a great profitable time like I did. And I will see you next year.